All right, here we are again, getting back into what we were doing. I think I have a decent idea for a video today. It's a nice rainy day. Yesterday was a rainy day as well. I like rainy weather. It makes me feel good. Helps me to appreciate the fact that we have all seasons, because I do like the rain. If I'm being honest, I'm not a huge fan of the summer heat, but take what I can get there. But it's been a while since we've had a good rainy day. It's really been interesting because the weather here lately has felt more like the fall than it has the summer. And August is typically the hottest season, or the hottest month of the season. So for August to be like this weekend was totally fall weather. It was clear and sunny, and it wasn't humid. It was so nice. And then we were getting some rain yesterday and today. Also so nice. And so to have that kind of weather in the dead of summer feels pretty good. A lot of people have been talking about how hot everything is and how the world's just burning up. But it's days like today where you kind of realize that it's not completely burning up. There's still hope for us yet. Run into a situation where we have a drought or something, and that would be not good. But it's been a healthy, good couple of days. I've got a decent conversation for us today. Once we hit the highway, I have a video up about man children that seems to be doing pretty good. It's got 52 views, which is a lot by comparison of any of my other content, but it's also got a lot of good interactions on it. It's got likes and comments and the whole bit, and that feels pretty awesome. So hopefully, I've been having a lot more videos lately that I feel a lot more confident about. So hopefully that resonates, and my confidence can create a better viewing experience. I'm sure that I could always create a video that's a little bit more watchable than these happen to be, but at this point I'm basically making like a podcast minus the but with like a slight video element to it, which it might be worth going on to one of those podcasting channels and trying to post these and seeing if it gets anywhere. But for now, I'll just keep on keeping on with what I'm doing. I think that it's important to note that today I have another good video idea for you guys. So I was watching Young Gravy, who's my guilty pleasure musician. If you follow me around, you'll probably know what I mean by that. But essentially, like, he represents everything in the music industry that I hate or despise, but somehow he does it in such a way that I can stomach and enjoy it. And so, because of that, I have been able to, or I've been following his content more frequently. And he's reading some like sexual book on his tour, and he's basically giving his audience like an audio book experience of Young Gravy reading this really popular, pretty raunchy book. And I didn't really think anything of it. It was kind of interesting because I write books, so to know that he reads and that he reads and that he would be doing this audiobook of sorts is really interesting. But so he went to read a passage on his Instagram page, and before he read it, he told anyone with toxic masculinity to leave the room. And that got me thinking, because that phrase gets thrown around pretty frequently these days. People talk about toxic masculinity. And I feel like, as someone who was raised in a traditional masculine ideology, I don't think that masculinity is all that toxic. Just like anything, there is toxic traits that go with it, absolutely. But like, the act of being masculine does not make you toxic. And that is, I believe, the society that we're building ourselves in today is a society where the mere act of being masculine makes you a toxic person. And I think that that is an unfair and unrealistic label to put on men these days. And there is a lot of things in place that seem to be pointed to trying to tear that down. The Olympics is the only sporting event I've ever watched and I've ever enjoyed. And this year it felt more politically pointed than it has in a long time. There was a lot of good, fun entertainment that came out of it, but there was a lot of stuff that, like, if you know what you're looking at, it makes you kind of wonder. And something that I noticed a lot is they were frequently focusing in on male athletes breaking down and crying after not having gotten the medal or whatever it is. And like the announcers will be like, "Oh, that's a respectable thing to do. That's a big moment in your life or in your career." And it's like, yes, but like, why is that the thing that we're focusing on? Why is it that every time a male athlete has a breakdown, that's where the camera goes? And it's because of the idea, the classic idea that people have since identified as not a healthy way to manage your emotions, but the whole idea of men don't cry. And it's a classic thing that's been, people have been attacking it since the 70s, I think. Was it The Cure? Somebody has an album or a song that's literally named that. And it attacks the ideology of men not being able to cry. And I think that it's just like anything, it's a blanket stereotype that gets placed on this ideology. There is moments where it is healthy to break down and it is healthy to cry, but you should not wear your heart on your sleeve. That goes for both men and women. But traditional masculinity is an exceptionally stoic thing. And part of stoicism is not really showing an excessive amount of emotions. But it's not just not showing emotions, it's controlling them. Like, you should have enough control of your emotions to be able to control when you break down and control when you're composed. And that would be seen as toxically masculine these days, generally because it's just a masculine trait. Any masculine trait, like I said, in this day and age is just immediately branded as toxic. But there is a huge benefit to being able to control your emotions and being in a state of emotional control. And what's more is, like, I tackled in an earlier video these concepts of man children and these men who never grow up and who just act like children their entire lives. I think that is our alternative. Like, if we shun masculinity, then we create these man babies who don't know how to be a man or what a man even is. And now we just have men who are drowning themselves in video games, weed, and alcohol and wasting away because they have nothing else. And the things that they're told, or the things that they feel like they could like or could respect, they're told is toxic and horrible. And it's just creating this awful dichotomy of things. And I think that is, I'm not sure why this is where society is going right now, why they want to demasculate everything. Why is it viewed as this toxic thing? And like, there is some old school male traits that are toxic in today's society. Like, I think about like any sort of hound dogging, and I've always thought like hound dogging was not an appropriate thing to do. And I think we can all agree on that these days. And there is some old-fashioned males out there who will probably in their head continue to hound dog, but to do it out loud and to do it and to brandish it is now wholeheartedly frowned upon, and I think it very well should be. But to display men as this incredibly emotional and all over the place individual, I think is it's an unfair thing to display, because like, some men don't necessarily even choose to be stoic. They just are. I am more stoic than I would hope to be, and I've had good friends of mine pass away, and I've not shed a single tear over it. And it's not because I was holding in my emotions and trying to prevent myself from crying. It's just because it just didn't happen. And because of that, I have moments where I feel like I'm broken because I'm not emotionally impacted by things the way in which I should be. But then you kind of have to step back and look at the bigger picture and be like, now wait, like, why do I feel like this is the appropriate emotional response to this situation? Like, I'm definitely saddened by the event, and I miss the person, and I find my ways to remember them. But just because I am not bawling up and crying over it doesn't mean that I'm not handling the situation appropriately. And I think that is the biggest thing that most anyone can get out of anything, is the realization of their own individuality. And we are all individuals. We are all our own people, and no one person is going to be exactly the same as the other, and that happens in so many different regards. And so for us to just exist, or to just assume that we all exist in this identical web of identity, that's the truest, most toxic thing of them all. Because you get all these people hooked in on the idea that we are all the same and that we all handle things similarly or the same, and now we're damaging ourselves and our perception of ourselves because we don't handle things the way the world tells us that we should. And so that is the truest toxic trait of them all, is manipulation. And that is what society does, is it manipulates people in masses and in droves to understand or to judge things. And that is how we become insecure with our own ideologies and with our own feelings and what have you. And it's all good and well to talk about these things, but very few of us actually face it. I went to a concert recently. It was a Creed concert, and he went up and had his little preachy speech and was like, don't let people tell you how to think, and don't let them do this, and you're beautiful, don't believe that you're not. And it's an incredibly cliche thing to say, to the point to where whenever somebody goes up on a stage and says something like that, and don't believe in social media, and they're all lame and dumb and whatever, it just feels incredibly false-hearted. And I cannot bring myself to take it very seriously. And so then when we all kind of come together and everybody's giving them the response that they want, oh yeah, you go, guy, it just feels unreal. And in the moment, it feels good to say those things. But I even wonder if the person preaching the message practices what he preaches. Like, does this random lead singer guy from Creed actually not allow social media to affect his decision making? I highly doubt it, especially as a famous person in this modern age. Like, social media can make and or break you. And so it comes across as extremely false when not only is he addressing it so plainly, but I highly doubt that he's practicing his own ideologies. And these people in the crowd will cheer it on because it's words that feel good to say, but none of them are going to go home and face the reality of how social media is affecting them. And so, like, to even cheer it on is a fake thing because it's not going to change your outlooks on life. And maybe this is just a bigger conversation about why musicians should just shut up and perform their music when they're on stage. It's kind of funny. Three Doors Down opened for them, and I really like Three Doors Down. I've seen them several times now. They have great music. But the lead singer, every time, he'll stop before performing Away from the Sun, and he'll be like, I don't think that lead singers should stand up here and sing or talk for a whole bunch, but I'm going to sit here and talk for a little bit. And his little bit turns into a long bit, and he preaches his feelings about religion and then plays Away from the Sun or whatever. And it's the same kind of philosophy where he even outs himself and says, oh, I don't think singers should do this, but I'm going to go up here and do this. Like, why are you doing it then? There's a time and a place for political views, and I don't feel like that's the place. I paid to hear you play your music. I didn't pay to hear your opinions on modern society. So it's like having a captive audience is really the best way to put it. Like, they paid money to be here to see one thing, and while they're here to see that thing, you're going to force them to hear something else. And that is, I think, why it is toxic when musicians do this. We have droves of people coming in this morning, and they're all in my way, and I'm tired of it. I'm gonna run this dude over. Not really, but they just act like they own the street, like cross to the crosswalk like appropriate people do, and let traffic exist. But at any rate, yeah, at the end of the day, not all masculinity is toxic. There are traits of masculinity, especially traits from masculine men of the past, that can be viewed as toxic, or that I will admit are openly toxic. But the entire philosophy of being a masculine male is not a toxic philosophy to have. And I just hope that people can wake up and smell the coffee in some instances and understand what they're doing and how they're trying to emotionally manipulate us to be the beings that they think that we should be, when none of us are one and the same. There could be a man who is very in touch with his emotions and very emotional, and the next guy who isn't, and we should be fine and willing to accept both of those men and not neither of them or one or the other. But at any rate, that has been my rant today. Bit of a hot take. I'm finding that YouTube seems to enjoy hot takes over the kind of bland videos. So let me know what you think, and goodbye.